You don't got SC. Oh, there you go.
Ladies and gentlemen across the world, we appreciate everyone tuning in this early morning into the afternoon. And we are here. This is your boy Mossberg, and I'm here with my guy. It is the 614 Ben. Stay tuned for more coming on that with my man Post Game, all the way from South Bend, Bending Air. And we are here talking game one. How is it? How you feeling today? Good afternoon, Post. You've been rumbling, we've been rumbling since last night. It's great to see you and bring this great talk to the people today. How you feeling today?
Man, it's great to see you, my guy. I feel wonderful. A lot of good basketball action as of late. The Oklahoma City Thunder and the San Antonio Spurs is a must-see playoff series that us basketball has been fiending to see, and it did deliver last night.
Man, and I just want to thank you again for joining me. And when you say fiending, man, I've been waiting for basketball like this post since so many greats have left the game, and watching Wembenyama, watching Castle, watching Dylan Harper and his San Antonio Spurs squad against this Oklahoma City and the two-time MVP and Shai Gilgeous, Chet Holmgren, the William brothers, Adam McCain. I mean, they have a slew of guys, man. I think we are in for probably one of the best Western Conference finals since the days of the late, great Kobe Bryant. Rest in peace, when he was in that West doing some great things. And it took me back to LeBron and Steph Curry NBA Finals matchup the way it was. So what's your thoughts on this game one as we seen Wembenyama do, again, unspectacular things, and then we seen someone that no one really's talked about since draft day. They talking about him now after game one. One of my guys, Lefty, most dangerous players, I think, on that Spurs. And they got a couple lefties, but I'm talking about Dylan Harper, his dad being Ron Harper, one of the, I think, most underrated players in his time. He played with the GOAT, and he played with so many others in his era. What's your thoughts about this game? I'm sorry to talk so much, but it's just that great of a series just to see it from the first game last night.
Well, yeah, I mean, we got to start at Victor Wembanyama. This dude, I like to call him Mr. Fantastic. This dude, if you didn't know about him after, before last night, where's his weakness? Can anybody explain to me where Victor's weakness is? Because you can't send him to the free throw line. He gonna knock those down. He can pull up from deep, as we seen last night, to put the game into overtime. He can take you on a block. He can drive. But I think Oklahoma City's biggest issue is Wemby controlling the paint and making them think about driving the basketball. We saw how it affected Shea Gilgeous Alexander last night, the reigning MVP. When you got Wemby
Yes, sir.
back there, it affects what you're going to do on offense. And Oklahoma City is going to have to figure things out when it comes to that offensive side of the ball. Because although they made a lot of 3-pointers last night, they gotta be able to find points in the paint and able to defeat San Antonio, and that's going to be a tall task. But I thought
Yeah.
Alice Caruso played really well. I thought J Dub played really well. The thing that almost did San Antonio in was the turnovers. They had a lot of turnovers. So they got to fix that. And hopefully De'Aaron Fox can get back to the series and that kind of band-aids that issue or resolves that issue. But one of the biggest mistakes I thought OKC made in the latter end of the game in the overtimes was having Caruso and J Dub guard Wemby in the paint. I think that was a huge mistake. I thought, Harnestein or the other guy, what's his name? Can't think of his name, Moss, the center. Chet
Is it
Holmgren.
Chet
Chet
Holmgren?
Holmgren should have been guarding him in the latter stages of the game. With them
Yeah,
guarding him with Caruso and J Dub, he was able to get extremely easy points. You just throw it up, Wemby gonna catch it. There's nothing they could do. I thought they should have guarded Wemby with size in the overtimes, and that was a
yeah,
big mistake by OKC.
totally agree. And when you mention that about Wemby, his matchup, I think when you talk about someone changing a game from being anywhere on the floor, I think that's something we haven't seen in decades. When you look at Wemby's numbers from game one, 40-20. We haven't seen this since Shaquille O'Neal. Mark me wrong. I might be mistaken, but I'm just thinking, I haven't seen this since Shaq. And for Wemby to be, 7'4", be able to do a step back fadeaway 3-point shot at his height. I don't know what to say right now. I'm not going to say he's a cheat code, he's an alien, but he's something that when I started to watch years ago on a level of him playing for France, I said he's going to come to the league and he's going to change the game. Shout out to Wembanyama. Shout out to everyone that's been working with this young man from day one. But shout out to the San Antonio Spurs and the physicality that they played with against the OKC team. Not to mention, did San Antonio hear all the saying, all the talk about how OKC could be a team to win back-to-back? Could they be a team to three-peat? Could they be the team that runs the NBA for the next 5 to 6 years? I think San Antonio answered every bit of those comments, questions. What's your thoughts as well? We talking about Wemby. I'm going to go ahead and talk about one of my guys, and that's Dylan Harper. Historical performance last night. And when you see the way he moved with his left hand, talk to me about Dylan Harper and the effect that he had on the game last night.
Yeah, Dylan Harper was tremendous, bro. Him stepping up with Fox being out. I really like the slew of guards San Antonio has to throw at different teams, especially when you get a De'Aaron Fox back, bro. Uh,
Yeah.
I pick OKC to win this series. I believe this series is going 7, but I mean, I lost a lot of faith last night. I gotta admit it. Because how do you combat OKC needs Harnestein and Chet Holmgren to step up offensively and defensively.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
San Antonio has pretty much, handled OKC all season long and into the playoffs thus far. OKC has to find some points in the paint and be able to get Wemby out of from patrolling that paint and changing their shots once they get down there. But I think it starts with Harnestein and Chet
Yeah.
Holmgren. Those two have to be effective if OKC is going to win this series. If those two can't be effective, Oklahoma City is going home.
I totally agree. I think you hit it right in the head, with OKC being this team that, we know what the talk has been. Shy getting his second MVP, OKC having this team that goes about 12. They could go as deep, 2 starting fives, you know. So for me, it's San Antonio, like I said, they've heard these things and they've matched up against it. Now, what is OKC going to do to counter? They have to play bigger. Shet has to be a bigger problem in the paint. Hartenstein, we have to see what we seen in New York for him to get that big contract and come over to OKC. This is why they gave you that money. This is where you have to show up. I think at this time in the season, at this point, you're trying to get to back-to-back NBA finals. It's not an easy task. And facing Wembanyama, I mean, you can go down the line as much as you talk about OKC with this San Antonio Spurs team. Mind you, they got this big win without De'Aaron Fox. Double overtime. Wemby goes for 40. You see Dylan Harper on record-setting performance. Then you see Castle out there with a mean double-double. And if anybody really watching Castle, during that first half, if you notice that second or third quarter when he missed a few of those shots, his intensity on defense, but is not to find the offensive player and give up that ball. Where do you see that from a young player every day? The way they're building this young core in San Antonio, we've seen what they did with the Twin Towers. They got multiple titles. I think they try to get a multiple championship with one tower and multiple players that come together and play just as well as anybody I've seen in the last few years when it comes to this young team being together so soon and so fast. Anything else you had to say on that one? I like this San Antonio team.
Yeah, I do too, Moss. But I mean, you got to give kudos to San Antonio as an organization, the way they built this team. Uh, you know, having Carter Bryant come off the bench, who I liked a lot at Arizona,
Oh yeah,
but having him and him being so locked in on the defensive end. Nobody drafts as well as San Antonio. And with Victor Wembanyama, man, this is if this man beats, if they take out OKC and proceed to win the NBA championship, there is no other argument that's needed. Victor Wemby is the best player in the NBA and it's his era. I don't think anybody thought it would start this quick, but if he's able to knock off OKC and if they proceed to win a championship, there's no more argument about who the best player in the NBA is because it's Wemby. To have that kind of
yeah,
effect on the game, I know a lot of people hear me talk about the effect on the game on both ends of the court when I'm talking about Hannah Hidalgo on the women's side in college, but in the NBA on the NBA side, Victor
yeah,
affects the game offensively and defensively. You saw how players were thinking twice when they drove to the basket. Easy baskets are not easy to come by for OKC. San Antonio are having an easier time
yes.
finding easier baskets. That right there is going to dictate the series if OKC doesn't find a way to combat that.
I totally agree. And then when you say combating that, I think OKC have to combat this physical nature of San Antonio. And SEC Shaw, we appreciate you tuning in as well as everybody else tuning in. And yeah, we speak on San Antonio heavy. I've picked San Antonio to win this series and actually even win the championship. That's my pick. Um, People forget about what OKC did during the regular season against San Antonio. That was nothing. Really not looked that special except that one game. And they had a tough time getting that win. And San Antonio had injuries. So to me, I think San Antonio is OKC's kryptonite. And I'm talking about in the worst way. I was talking to a couple guys. I think I had text posts and we was talking last night and I said, OKC might be down 50 if Fox was playing in this game because that's the way it looked, at a point because of the way with Alex Caruso being the top scorer. Nothing against him, bringing championship pedigree, but when Alex Caruso is getting 30, I don't think OKC can win any game in this series as we've seen it go to double overtime.
Yeah, I think a big part of why San Antonio didn't blow the game away, didn't blow OKC away, is the turnovers. They got to cut down on those turnovers. They had way
Yeah,
too many turnovers for my liking. They probably would have dominated this game had they not turned the ball over so many times. But
yeah,
I don't think I don't think we can count OKC out quite yet. They still got the heart of a champion. It's going to be interesting to see what kind of adjustments OKC makes and how to deal with Vic, man. Mr. Fantastic is what I like to call him. But if there's
yes,
anything they can adjust to, I really, again, I'm going to say this again, Hardenstein and Holmgren have to be more effective on the offensive and defensive end. But I thought, I'm
yeah,
going to say this again also, I thought it was a humongous mistake for them to have Alice Caruso and J Dub trying to guard and front Wimby in the latter end of the game. That was a huge mistake.
can't
You
do
need
it.
a big body on him, man. He's 7'4".
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you on that. I mean, it shows. And what I was seeing Wimby doing the game one dribble spin, left hand when he got one dunk, then he turned around and got another dunk. I mean, it's just if you're not talking about Wembenyama, I don't know what you're not talking about when we talking about this game one in this series. I mean, he's just that special. And like you said, nothing to take away from OKC. I think this is going to be a great series. I think this just goes to show in this first game what we will be in store for this Western Conference semifinals. I mean, this Western Conference finals, and to see who gets to that finals. So, for me, I'm definitely looking forward to game one tonight, I believe. We got game one tonight. Is that in that Cleveland series? So, any thoughts on that? I know we weren't going to keep the people too long, but just any quick thoughts on that real quick before we get out of here?
Yeah, sure, man. I mean, it all depends on what Cleveland team shows up. Uh, I know James Harden is hit or miss. If the Spiders gonna play like that, Cleveland gives themselves a really good chance to move on to the NBA championship. But me personally, I like the Knicks to win this series. It's been a long time coming. Uh, I think they're primed to beat Cleveland and send them home. So Jalen Brunson is on fire. He's playing extremely well. Really,
Yeah.
probably outside of Wemby, probably nobody's been playing better in the playoffs. So I look for New York to win this series. How about you?
Man, this is a tough one for me, Post. This has been a tough one. I've been thinking about it. I'm gonna go. We in Ohio here, 614. I'm gonna stay in Cleveland. This is a tough pick. When I say this is probably the toughest pick, I'm going Cleveland on the strength of Mobley. I've liking the way Mobley has been playing this playoffs. I think the way he stepped up. I'm going Cleveland. I like what Cleveland has been doing. I think Donovan Mitchell is special. Spider is different. I love what Brunson in New York is doing, but it's still something for me. They got to show me in this series, in this game one. I'm watching Cat. Carl Anthony Towns is the player I'm locked in and loaded and watching to see how he do. And that's going to be, I think the biggest thing for this series, how Cat grows, how he plays, and controls that middle.
Yeah, definitely. I can see Cat being a huge factor. I can see OG Anobi being a huge factor. To me,
So,
the Mobley has to bring his offense, man. He has to be a dude. To me, in order for Cleveland to be successful in this series, it has to be Spider, it has to be Mobley, then the other guys. Mobley has to attack, he has to be aggressive on the offensive end. And we can say the same thing about Big Cat Moss. He has to
yeah.
be aggressive, he has to dominate the paint and not settle for so many three-pointers that we see him do sometimes. But the way Brunson is playing, man, I just think could possibly be the next time.
Yeah, I agree with you. And, just thinking about that just made me thinking about the two left hand battle. Bronson and Harden, man, two guys that's been, to a few teams and they trying to get to that, prestigious title and that NBA trophy. You know what it means to hold that up and get to those finals on the western side or the eastern side. So definitely looking forward to this battle, man. But most importantly, we see SEC shine. He said he got the Knicks in 6. We're gonna make sure that we get all this down. But man, I can't tell you, man, great show. Appreciate you joining us today. Other than that, man, stay tuned in tonight. We live with the guys, WTP Sports Dudes, 7:45. This is Moss and Post, and we out. Peace. We love it.